And welcome back. Today we're flying out the Hornet Mk.III. This is a non-premium variant. And it's going to be a pretty eventful one. Today we're going to be energy trapping 3 TAR-152Hs in the same game. We're going to be having an 8-minute dogfight with a BF-109 G10. And just some general things, some tips, some tricks that you can apply to most planes that you will be flying, as long as they have a power to weight advantage. So stay tuned for that. Everything will be timestamped in the description. In between the 152H, the last 152H, and the BF-110. It's all just average gameplay, some things you should and shouldn't do. So if you don't care about that, you can just skip right ahead. But those will be the two highlights that I will ask you to watch if you are interested, of course. And something else pretty wild, we're actually nearing 30,000 subscribers. Never thought I would actually reach this thing. I'm not really someone to get hung up on the numbers. But 30,000 is a bit wild. I never really expected this. A few years ago I said I'd probably never reach 10,000. And here we are having 3 times that amount. But let's get right into the gameplay, because that's what you're actually here for. We got 3 TAR-152s in the area, and at this point I don't really know which variant they are. The 152C is not much of a threat in this thing, and the H you have to be a little bit more careful of. They turn very well, they keep their speed very well, and you just need to be sure that what variant you're fighting, because they are very, very different. A little trick I can give you: by pressing the middle mouse button, you can lock them up, you get a little circle around them. If you then press the track key and then the zoom key, you get a little bit of extra zoom, making it so it's a little bit easier to make out a wing shape. Because in the end, the biggest tip I can give you in this game is, of course, know your planes. And knowing theirs is almost as important as yours. If you know what yours can do, but you don't know what they can do, then it doesn't really matter. And we are very much above this guy. He is turning around, and I can tell by the turning circle that this guy is hauling ass. I see the wing shape, and there comes the H on the HUD. And at this point, I can just loop up over him. He does not have the energy to pitch up here, so I'm not really worried. I drop the flaps. I start cutting into his turn, because he can't really reverse the turn anymore. He's going way too slow, so he will end up going into this direction. If he pushes ahead on, he is going to die. He tries for a very slim amount of time, doesn't actually make it. He's going very slow now. He gave me a pretty easy shot. His Spanos unfortunately did kill him, and I can neck-G into the shot again, because this neck-G is very, very bad. If you have the flaps down, don't even bother trying to put your nose down. It is not going to happen. But he's crit now. I'm still much faster, I still have an energy advantage, and I will outclimb this guy any day of the week. So we can just kind of fly away. Need to be aware of the second guy, because he is coming in from the side. And I want to make sure that I don't stall myself out in front of the second one. The other one, luckily for now, flies away. He leaves us alone. He's probably going to try to get an energy advantage and then come in once I start engaging this guy. So I do want to be careful of him, because it shows that he doesn't just point his cursor on me and fly directly towards me, which mostly indicates that these guys have a little bit more of an understanding than the average player. And that comes TAR-152 number 2. Not sure which variant it is, but I see the tracers, I see a lot of white, and I'm gonna guess it's a H because of the 30 mil, which is very, very slow, and it happens to be the case. So we do the exact same thing as we did the first time. This guy was pitching up for us. He is very, very slow. So there's no chance of him ever getting this shot in. He is not going to be pulling up for me here. I'm going to try to get the shot here. Very likely that he is going to try to go horizontal or not make the loop altogether, and he does exactly that. So now we are on his 6. I do want to be careful of the other 152 on my right there. And I'm going to be spraying a little bit, because this thing can be a bit of a brick. He's flying straight. I get another crit in, and you can tell that I can't really pull with him. At long range I can, because of course pulling lead you don't have to pull nearly as tight as when you are directly on someone's 6. So at longer ranges it's a little bit easier to get your guns on, but of course it makes it harder, because you are a little bit further and you need to lead a lot more. You need to know the ballistic of your gun a bit more. Luckily you have a lot of Hispano rounds. And that guy is now crit as well. So that's 2 152's crit. And now we got the third one, which is kind of on co-altitude. He is a little bit higher and he is catching me. But you have to keep in mind, right now I am climbing and he is flying straight. So he is cutting my flight path off a little bit. Now I level out just to check what the energy levels are at that point. And he is going a little bit faster than me. So I need to reset here. I need to make sure that I get the energy advantage before I start climbing. Because if I start climbing now, sure, I will be above him, but what he can do is just fly straight, catch up to me, fly directly underneath me, and then start pitching up. And while I might have much more energy than him, his guns have much more range than in his plane. He doesn't need to ram me, he just needs to get in gun range. And if I start climbing, I will be slower, I will be an easier target. So all in all, I don't want to do that. So first I want to level out a little bit, and I'm going to be hitting the map border if I go that direction. So I don't want to go into that direction. And luckily with a plane like this, you can actually just turn away and then pick up your speed again. You don't really have to worry about people on your 6. Almost nothing will catch you. There are some planes like the P-51H and the Mk./24, but they are mostly on your team. So you don't really have to worry about those. And jets, of course. If you start facing jets, it's a little bit of a different story. And you just have to play it a little bit more opportunistic. But at high altitude, those guys will have nothing on you. And right now, I'm starting to climb. We are roughly going the same speed. He is flying straight, just as I said earlier. But this time, it's a little bit different. Because I am going just as fast as him. And every time I level out and build up my energy again, I will actually create more and more of an energy gap. And right now, he is slightly catching me. He's also cutting off my flight path. Very so slightly. So it might look that he has more energy right now because he's catching me, but not for long. This plane is absolutely bonkers and I can just get the energy back up. And now, even though I'm higher than him, I'm also about to start outrunning him. He now needs to pitch up and he's going to shed a little speed, or a little bit of speed. And you can tell right there, he tried to pitch up for me and he's not catching me. I have more energy than him right now, or more speed than him right now, and I'm climbing. I'm above him. He's going to start diving a little bit. He's going to prepare an attack. And this is going to cost him a lot of energy. And he's not going to get in range because I'm still going 350 IAS. So he is going roughly the same, a little bit slow. But he just dove a little bit to pick up some speed and then to pitch up into me. So I just do a little bit of a slight turn. I dive and it seems a bit counterintuitive. But I'm just picking up speed in this dive to get some separation in. And at this point he is going very slow. I'm still going 350. And I have all the power in the world to just pitch up right here. And this man has nothing on this plane, not on this altitude, not at these speeds. So even though the TAR-152H will beat this thing in a dogfight, I can make it so that the dogfight will always start in my advantage. And once I start in an advantage versus another prop, most things are going to die to this. He's going very slow here. I need to spray. Well, I don't really need to, but not a lot of enemies left. We gun him out of the air and we are just gonna go and clean up the RE 2005. So we're just gonna be flying straight towards him and I'm going to be cutting it out because the video is long enough as it is. And here we are diving in, we're going way too fast. He's busy with an LA9 and the LA9 will lose that dogfight, so we are just gonna be helping him out here. We dive in, we do the exact same thing, we broke off before we broke off. We're just trying to shed some speed here. I have quite a bit of energy over this guy, so I'm not really worried about doing anything. He's really busy about this dogfight. He's gonna start turning in. We roll over and we just managed to get the shot in. Unfortunately for him, he rolled back into our guns. And that's going to be the last guy. And the only reason I showed you that last part is simply to show you that you don't have to commit. You can just take your time. And if you take your time in this thing, you will beat basically every prop in the game. Bar, of course, a few. There's always a few that will just counter you. And it's something like a BI-1 will absolutely rock your shit in. And here we are, another game. Today we're flying with Mk./III, Raw Dogger as we call him. And we have a guy called Endless L underneath us. And the reason that's funny is because we like dishing out L's on this channel. So it is a little bit of a focus. Also not, because it's Ki-84. He's very annoying to fight if he's together with someone. And he looks to be somewhat AFK. Now he's gonna pitch up. He's way too slow to go up here. So we can just pitch up after him. We don't have the turn rate to pitch up after him here. But look at the energy difference, he's almost stalling out and I'm going 400 IAS. I can just pitch up. So even though this is a Ki-84 with a little bit of energy and a little bit of speed, you can easily get rid of these guys. He has to dive out here, he has to reset, and if he doesn't, he is going to die. So he tries to pitch up again. This time I'm going a little bit more horizontal to secure my position on the 6. And the reason I rolled over in the middle of the top of that loop is because he was going the other direction. So I wanted to get as close as quickly as I could. And this guy for some reason is going up and then sideways and he kind of killed himself. But that's good, because even though we can kill the Ki-84 on the one-on-one because he's simply not powerful enough, he is very annoying to kill when he's together with someone because the turn rate is good enough to basically always stay out of your guns. It's the same with something like a Spitfire. Unfortunately, Nuka goes down in the background in his absolute dog water plane called the Navel, because all that thing has is some, well, a lot of guns and high speed compression. Unfortunately, when you fight planes like the Corsair, the FU-4B, he kind of just does everything better than you, and he will actually be higher than you at the start of the game despite you having an air spawn. So no, not the most enjoyable plane to fight. And here we are going to have a little bit of a problem. I'm trying to home in on this furball. I'm trying to see where everyone is, and at this very moment I can see everyone. At this point I'm not really too worried. I'm not wrapping right now, I'm cooling off my engines, and I will focus the TAR 152H here over the 109. Notice that I'm not going to get the shot in, so we switch target back to the 109, and now the 152 is simply too slow, and we are just going to go straight up. But the problem here that you can see is the clouds. This is a plane that you need to have awareness in. You need to know where everyone is, and you need to know who to kill first. The problem is with clouds, you don't know where everyone is exactly. You can't really tell how fast everyone is, and this makes it very annoying to play here. So I'm trying to see who I want to kill here. The Mk.III is a prime target because he's a very weak link here, and sometimes going for the weaker target is actually a good idea, because right now I just want to get as many people out of the match as humanly possible. And I went for him right there, and the 109 almost flies into our guns. Unfortunately he didn't, but we killed some guy now, and there's a 152 and another guy on the 6 of that 84 on the other side of the map, or not the other side, they're like 8 kilometers away, and we have a 109 on us that's actually going pretty fast. He's not like a danger at this very moment, but because of all the clouds around here, I don't really want to go vertical. If this was a clear map, if there were no clouds here, I would have hammerheaded him right here, and he probably would have died. But I don't know if there's another guy in the clouds right here, so I can't really take that risk right now, because there's still a lot of people alive in the enemy team. So I just do a flat turn, see if he wants to follow. He doesn't. He's going to start reclimbing, which is actually going to be pretty annoying, because that's the guy we're going to have a very long dogfight with at the end of this game. 190, it's a C. I saw that because he killed the 84 and it said, well, I put a C behind his name. And then there is also the TAR 152, and I think it's a H. I knew at this point in the game, but I have to say I don't really know post commentary because this has been a while. But I believe it's a H. And I'm just trying to get my footing here. And the problem is I'm just flying into more and more clouds. So now I start losing track of where everyone is. I know that the 109 is flying roughly to the, what is it? The north, I think it is. Yes, the north. So I don't really know where he is. And if he is reclimbing right now and I start diving on these two guys, I'm going to get boom and zoomed by a 109. And even though a 109 is much slower than me, if I start engaging people and I'm not going that fast, he can easily catch me in a dive, especially if I'm busy with someone else. And there is a 109. He finally pops up. I know where he is. I can see the dot underneath me still for the 152 or the 190C. And I'm just flying into this direction to get rid of the clouds. And this seems very boring, and that's because it is. But I'm not going to be throwing the match here. I felt something was going to happen, and I felt like I could win this one, so I am going to try it. I'm not trying to run here. I'm just trying to get a little bit of footing, because I need to see all the enemies. And if I don't, I'm going to have big problems. You can't really react in this plane. You need to make people react to you. If you are on the back foot in this thing, it's going to take you a very long time to regain your footing. And I did a video on this as well, in the same plane, where I was below everyone, and then I started stalling everyone out. And then you can do the exact same thing as we are doing here, but you need some time, and time is something we don't have currently anymore, because the 25-minute timer, you can't really land anymore because the tickets go down if you're on the runway for too long. And everything together just makes it so that you have to play this thing very cautiously, at least late game. Early game you can be pretty damn aggressive, got that 2-kilometer airspan, paired with an absolutely nuts climb rate. And when I say cautiously, I don't mean that you are going to die if you lose your footing. The problem is just it takes time. You can dive out basically every prop in the game and start climbing again and end up above them. That's not the problem. The problem is if there's a second guy involved, that takes time, and the second guy can start climbing and then make it so that you can't engage the first guy to begin with. So you basically have to make sure that you always hit your passes, which for some people, for a lot of you, can be a bit of a struggle, I know that, and especially in a plane that's as stiff as this one, you need to have some luck and you need to have some experience to get your nose where you want it to be. 109 does the right thing. He sees me turn into him, I'm going much faster, I have some altitude on him, and he simply does not want to stick it. And you shouldn't. And he flies into the next cloud, and I'm just getting really annoyed at this point, and he's doing it right, I'm not mad at him, but I'm just annoyed because there's clouds everywhere. And once you start getting into clouds and you start losing people, there's a very big chance that once you start closing the gap, maybe he made a new maneuver, maybe he turned a little bit the other way, and if he had done that, then you completely lose him, and then he gets spotted and he's suddenly in a very different position as he initially was. And if he times that correctly and I don't anticipate it, he's going to be very close on my 6, and once that starts happening, I'm going to lose a lot of speed. I'm going to gain a lot of speed. I'm going to lose a lot of energy by diving out, trying to reset, and then trying to climb back over him again. And that simply just is, one, very boring, and two, it's just very boring. That's really it. So we are doing the same thing here, and he did exactly that. He turned the other way. He made it seem like he wasn't committed to my turn, but he started climbing again. So if I then took the bait and I had dived after him and stayed on his 6, he would have now been a kilometer above me, and I would have had to dive all the way back to the deck, wait for him to be outrun, and then start climbing again, which just takes forever. The 190C is not much of an issue. It's a C after all. He's very, very slow. He does turn quite a bit better than the normal 190s, especially the 190Ds, but he does not have the performance to really keep up with me. And at this point I'm just getting very bored, which is why I'm starting to turn in here. I'm going to start picking up some speed. I'm going to stop the climb here, and I'm just going to be flying straight. I'm going to be picking up speed, see if he wants to stick, because this guy is obviously playing it very cautiously. So I need to stop playing it very cautiously, otherwise this will end up in a stalemate, and stalemates are boring. I'd rather have a good fight. So we start doing a very gradual turn here. I'm kind of turning into him, giving him the illusion of him being faster than me, him catching me, him having more energy than me, whatever you want to call it. But he's on my 6 here. I'm going 400 IAS, and we are going to be flying away from him again. And again, the cloud is in this absolute worst possible position. So we are flying into the direction of the clouds again. But I had to do that 180. I had to do that little turn. So I end up here by chance yet again. And I'm a magnet for clouds. I've lost more games than I can count to that stuff, because I just happen to fly into the one cloud on the map, and then I lose my footing. Or I lose the spot. But he is going very slow at this point. And the 109s, while they have good stall characteristics, you need to get into that stall first. And at this point he is too slow to really pitch up for me here. There he goes. He is stalled out. We go back up. We start dropping the flaps. And instead of going straight up here, I'm going to go horizontal. And I'm going to try to pull up over his nose. And once I manage that, see if he wants to stick. Because he probably does, because he thinks he has the upper hand here, since he has a much better turn rate. And normally this is the kind of situation you want to be in the 109. Well, not on the bottom, I mean on the top. So he probably thinks that he can outpower me here and outturn me. Unfortunately for him, that's not the case, because this thing has power out the ass. So we turn back into him. I'm not going to get the shot right here, and I'm not really worried about it. I'm just trying to stay on his 6 and bleed him of as much energy as humanly possible. He's going a lot slower than me at this point. I have the position, I have the speed, so we are just gonna stay on his 6 with my nose on him or not. And he notices it. He notices that he is going to lose the fight. So he again does the right thing and breaks off. The TAL 152 is on the deck right now, and the 190C is nowhere to be found. Spray a little bit at long range and he goes into the same damn cloud. And now I just need to break off again, because I'm not going to be fighting this guy in the middle of a cloud. That's the one thing I'm not going to do. Luckily I have some speed and I can just reset away again. And I want this guy to end up on my 6, and I want him to dogfight me, and I want to dogfight him as well. I'm giving him a chance to kill me just because I'm getting very bored, but he doesn't really want to take it. So I am going to start taunting him in the chat here in a second, because that's of course what you do once you want people to dogfight you. I'm in a Hornet, and a Hornet you do need to be a little bit better than the enemy player in order to beat him in a dogfight, but luckily we are at almost 6 kilometers, and this thing has again power out the ass. And at this altitude I'm not sure if I actually have more power than him compared to on the deck. So I know that I have more power than him, but I don't know if the gap is bigger or smaller at this altitude. But I do know that at higher altitudes you need more IAS to start turning, which plays into my advantage, weirdly enough, because the faster we go, the more I compress and the worse that I turn. And this also counts for the slower I go until I reach the stall point, because at the stall point I can start turning with energy. And energy is something he will start lacking very, very fast. Now we are at 7.5 kilometers. A little bit excessive, I know, but I'm going to be using some of this altitude to dive in, and I'm going to be start dogfighting him. So I say fuck it in the chat, of course in the squad chat, because I don't want to taint my Christian lobby here. So I want to be a little bit more proper, as we call that. And we are now below the 109. Do I care? Not really, because I want this guy to just fight me. So I'm giving him the advantage now, which is probably not the best idea, but I felt like I could probably win it. So we are gonna do it. He says go, which indicates to me that he finally wants to take the bait. Well, not really bait, because I'm putting myself into a bit of a shitty position here. And what we have to do here is dodge his guns in the initial pass. Not sure what hit me there, but no matter. Now we reel him in. We start going over his nose. I actually dropped my throttle to get behind him, which might sound a little bit counterintuitive, dropping the energy in this plane. But once you get position at this kind of altitude with this kind of power, you can just start looping and he will fall out of the air eventually. I will do this all day long until we reach 100 meters of altitude. I pitch in behind him. I am going to get a shot here. Just managed to nick him. Unfortunately, he doesn't actually die. I'm now on a 6. We get a hit. And he's going to start running away again. At this point, he's in a position that I was in just a few minutes ago. And he doesn't want to take it. And I can just pitch up for him here because he does not have the turn rate at this kind of altitude to really do anything about it. So we pitch up over. I know that he's going to be flying into this direction, so I'm going to be preparing my turn. Trying to get my guns on here. I'm going very slow. And he runs away again. He doesn't want to start looping. That's completely fair. But don't say go and then run away from me. So here we go. Counter taunt. Of course, he was in a bit of a shitty position and he is in his right to run away from me. But I want to win and I want to have a good fight. So he turns around. He actually listens to me, which is pretty rare. Luckily I did this time. I'm not even going to pull it with the head on. I'm just going to be pulling up over him. And we are going to be doing the exact same thing. And notice how steep my lines are most of the time. I really want to just go straight up and stall him out as much as possible. And now here, this is a little bit of an experience thing. This was really close. I'm baiting him into getting the stall shot here. I know that he's about to pull his nose in, so I just pulled it a different direction. And just, if you make a little bit of a mistake into that, he just guns you down. So I got a little bit, well, is it luck? Probably a little bit, but we set him up right. He dives out. We shoot a little burst at 1.2.5, and there we go. Nicely flown Jaeger. Unfortunately, in the end, the Hornet is just a little bit too powerful for planes like that. And of course, that shot was a little bit bullshit, but we're just not gonna talk about that. And that's gonna be the game. I promised a bit ago that I was gonna make an F4C video. Unfortunately, all my footage got corrupted, and now I don't have any anymore. So I'll probably make some new one in the next patch. I'm not really sure what to do with that yet. Completely recovered from COVID, just a little bit lacking on the energy department, mostly on endurance. But as long as I sit on my ass all day, I feel pretty alright. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.